Hello all, my name is Leah Norton and today I will be discussing what initiatives and referendums are and how they are the heart of direct democracy in Arizona. So to start off, we're going to go into the definitions of both. So what an initiative is. An initiative is a method that allows voters to propose new laws or change existing laws, and those supporters then collect signatures from registered voters to qualify the proposal for the ballot. Once it is placed on the ballot, voters can vote on whether to approve this proposal. So that is kind of what the initiative is. A referendum is a method that allows voters to approve or reject a law or part of a law, and then those supporters collect signatures from registered voters to place the issue on the ballot, and once it's placed on the ballot, then they vote on whether the law should take effect or remain in place. So next up, going into how they're both created. So starting again with the initiatives. Initiatives allow citizens to propose a new law or an amendment to the Arizona Constitution. The process begins when a citizen or group creates a proposal and files the required paperwork with the Secretary of State. After that, the supporters of the proposed law or constitutional amendment then collect signatures from registered voters. If enough valid signatures are collected by the required deadline, the proposal can then be placed on the ballot for voters to decide. Looking at the referendum, it allows citizens to challenge a law that has already been passed by the Arizona legislature. So citizens or groups can collect signatures to refer the law to the voters. If enough valid signatures are collected within the required time frame, the law can be placed on the ballot. Voters then decide whether the law should take effect or be rejected. So going into comparing and contrasting initiatives and referendums, I'm going to start off with going over the similarities and then the differences between them too. So looking at the similarities, both of them give Arizona citizens a direct role in government. They also both require citizens to collect signatures from eligible voters. They both require petitions to be submitted to the Arizona Secretary of State's office by a specific deadline. And lastly, their signatures are both reviewed by the Secretary of State and county recorders to determine whether enough valid signatures have been collected for the measure to qualify for the ballot. So looking at the differences, starting again with the initiatives. In the initiatives, citizens propose a new law or an amendment to an existing law or the Constitution, the Arizona Constitution. It is used to create or change laws through the initiative process. So also for 2026, they also have different signature requirements. So for 2026, a constitutional initiative requires 383,902 signatures, while a statutory initiative requires 255,949 signatures. And then initiatives must be filed by a specific deadline. So for example, the 2026 deadline is July 2nd. For a referendum, citizens seek to approve or reject a law that has already been passed by the Arizona legislature. It can be used to challenge or prevent a law from taking effect. For 2026, a referendum requires 127,975 signatures, so less than an initiative. And the referendum signatures must be submitted within 90 days after the legislature officially ends its session for the year. So next up, going into some pros and cons. Looking at the initiatives first, some of those pros include giving citizens direct power to create laws without having to wait for the legislator to act. It can overcome a legislative standstill. When legislators are not addressing an issue, citizens are able to bring the issue directly to voters' attention rather than leaving it in the hands of the legislator. It also gives voters a voice on specific issues that they feel strong about. It can increase public participation in the lawmaking process. So kind of a summary of those pros, it basically gives citizens the ability to propose laws and bypass the legislator when it is at a standstill. Looking at the cons, of the initiatives. It can be expensive and difficult because supporters have to collect a large number of signatures. Wealthy organizations could have a significant influence or on laws because they can provide money and resources to support an initiative, and it could be something that is not positive that needs to be passed. Ballot measures may be complicated, making it difficult for voters to fully understand all of the potential of the consequences, and then poorly written initiatives can create problems because unclear or poorly drafted language may make a law difficult to interpret or implement. Lastly, another con is implementation can be complicated even after voters approve of an initiative because the government still has to determine how to administer and enforce it. So kind of a summary of those cons. The process can be expensive, complicated, and influenced by wealthy interest groups. Heading into the referendums, some of the pros include giving voters a check on the legislator by allowing them to challenge legislation that has already been passed. It allows citizens to directly approve or reject laws, giving voters more control over government decisions. It can hold elected officials accountable because if citizens disagree with a law, they have a way to take that issue directly to the voters. Lastly, it encourages the public involvement in government because citizens have a direct role rather than only relying on elected representatives. So summary of those pros, it gives citizens the ability to challenge laws passed by the legislator and have a direct say in whether they should take effect. Now, looking at the cons of the referendums, voters may not have enough information to fully understand complicated legislation. Interest groups with significant financial resources may have an advantage in campaigns and can influence voters, and it could be a negative influence. It can make governing more difficult because a referendum can prevent or delay a law that was already passed by a representative. Also, a simple majority may not represent everybody's interest, so there may be concerns about ballot measures potentially affecting minority interests. Lastly, it can create conflict between direct and representative democracy because voters can make decisions directly, which elected legislators are responsible for studying, debating, and refining legislation. So in a summary, those cons include voters may not have enough information about complicated laws, and the process can conflict with the role of elected representatives. So lastly, we're going to explain how initiative and referendums support the idea of direct democracy as outlined in the Arizona Constitution. So in a brief little summary, direct democracy is people themselves participate directly in the governing. So initiatives and referendums allow people to have a direct say in proposing laws and allow people to directly approve or reject legislation. It also, both referendums and initiatives, allow the public to be part of lawmaking process, making it a form of direct democracy. So thank you to everybody who's here today. That is all I have about initiatives and referendums in Arizona. Have a wonderful day, and thanks again for being here.